I don't really want to go, but they are the parents who raised my husband. As a wife, I can't just pretend I don't know. My name is Natalie, a veteran housewife with 15 years experience. But as much as I'd like to say that, my surroundings aren't exactly peaceful. At 38, I've successfully passed the advanced maternal age phase and live under one roof with my energetic 2-year-old daughter Michelle and my husband Sean. Or at least that's what I wish I could say. Natalie! Yesterday you were chatting with your mom friends at the park while Michelle was there. You were paying more attention to your friends than your little child. What if something had happened? And while Sean is at work, you just gossip carelessly. You're the worst kind of wife. My mother-in-law Yesenia calls me every time she sees me to scold me about my actions. Despite this, our house and my in-laws are 30 minutes drive apart, so not exactly close. Yet Yesenia suspects me of having an affair while Sean is at work, and monitors me like a stalker. I hate being wrongfully suspected and am frightened by Yesenia's excessive actions, so I decided to talk to Sean about it, only to be disappointed by his response. While you're at work, Yesenia comes all the way here to keep an eye on me. I want to interact with people other than just childcare. Talking with mom friends is fine, right? Sean, who rarely gets angry, looked at me with contempt as I spoke honestly. Mom friends? Why would you make friends like that? You can't trust people easily. In these times, anything could happen. Focus and be diligent in your parenting. It seemed like he was taking Yesenia's side. Since then, I stopped taking Michelle to the park, limiting our activities to the neighborhood. But Yesenia's surveillance continued. She even started staking out the cafe near my house. Oh, after letting her play with water in the garden at 10 this morning, you haven't gone out at all, have you? Her constant reports over the phone only added to my stress, the reason behind her actions remaining unclear to me. One day, Sean had to take a 5-day break due to major construction at his workplace, and during dinner we discussed going on a trip. It's been a while since we've had a long break. How about a trip? We hadn't traveled since Michelle was born, the last trip being 7 years ago, so I was excited. That sounds great! With a small child, a kid-friendly inn would be more relaxing, right? However, Sean had a different idea of a relaxing trip than what I was hoping for. Of course! With Mom there, she can help with the kid and we can enjoy our trip. It's like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. At that moment, I was puzzled. Huh? Yesenia? I thought it was just the 3 of us with Michelle. Of course! I've already told Mom, so don't worry about betting. What Sean meant by a trip was staying over at his parents' house. Yesenia kept an eye on me, but never asked me to come to the in-laws. It had been 3 years since our last visit with Sean. I had imagined a relaxing family time in a hotel, but never expected the destination to be Yesenia's home. But with Sean's mind made up and no intention of changing it, I had no choice but to go along. It would be our first visit since Michelle was born, so I couldn't help but hope for some hospitality. A week later, the day finally arrived. We were on our way to the in-laws' house at 9 a.m. when Yesenia called my mobile phone. Natalie, you must be close to the house, but surely you're not coming empty-handed. Yesenia's intimidating tone made me freeze for a moment. Sean, busy driving, didn't notice my discomfort, but normally one would seek help from their spouse in such situations. However, knowing Sean would take Yesenia's side, and that it's customary to bring something when visiting someone's home, I had to act. Can we stop at a supermarket? I want to buy something for Yesenia. Hoping for Sean to say, you don't need to bring anything, was perhaps wishful thinking. Huh? You were planning to go empty-handed? I thought you had already bought something. From then on, Sean's mood soured, and I ended up shopping alone with Michelle in my arms. Feeling labeled as the daughter-in-law who doesn't care for Yesenia, I wondered how I could cherish her when she doesn't care for me. Eventually, I bought Yesenia a limited-time gourmet item which satisfied me. Back in the car, in the cold silence, we arrived at Yesenia's house, where Michelle and I were ushered into a guest room while Sean and Yesenia started talking. Since Yesenia's husband passed away 5 years ago, their bond had strengthened, but to me it was painful, worrying they were speaking ill of me. They led Michelle and me to another room so quickly that I almost missed the chance to give the gift, interrupting Sean to hand it to Yesenia. She bluntly said, "Thank you," without checking the contents, and promptly placed it in a corner of the kitchen. Seeing Sean's nonchalant reaction, I felt utterly disregarded. Another concern was Yesenia's attitude toward Michelle, not smiling even once at her granddaughter. One would think a grandparent would naturally smile at their grandchild, but Yesenia seemed to ignore her. From the time we arrived, Sean rarely came to the room where Michelle and I were, mostly talking with Yesenia in the living room, leaving me wondering the purpose of our visit. When I went to the kitchen, Yesenia wouldn't let me help with anything, instead making unsettling comments. "Natalie, you're always tired from childcare, so relax while you're here." Confused by her smile, I looked at Sean, who met my gaze, and said, "We were just talking. Mom's worried about Natalie going out of her way to check on you. It's not surveillance. Don't treat Mom like a stalker." Huh? My voice leaked out in surprise and panic. Sean had told Yesenia exactly what I had confided in him. I nervously looked at Yesenia, who patted my shoulder with a smile and silently resumed her housework, leaving me to return to the room with Michelle, unaware that Yesenia's attack was about to begin. An hour later, Sean came to tell me that dinner was ready. Surprised by the lavish spread, I exclaimed, "Wow, did Yesenia make all this?" Praising Yesenia as if to make up for earlier missteps, she nodded with a pleasant smile. During the meal, Yesenia kept staring at Michelle. I thought she might help feed her, but then she started looking back and forth between me and Michelle, tilting her head. Strange. This child doesn't resemble Sean or Natalie at all. I wonder whose child she is. What? She is often said to look like me. I always thought Michelle and I looked alike, as many people pointed out. But Yesenia didn't see any resemblance. Much worse, she seemed to suspect that Michelle was the result of an affair with another man. I've never cheated, and Michelle is undoubtedly Sean's child. Looking at Sean for support, I received an unbelievable response. "Mom thinks so too. Actually, I've been dreaming of Natalie with another man lately, and it's driving me crazy." Unable to understand the suspicion from both mother and son, I felt isolated with no hero to turn to. Despite my denials, their cold eyes made me feel excluded. However, it was strange how Michelle, only 2 years old and oblivious to the conversation, tugged at my shirt and smiled, encouraging me. It reaffirmed that protecting Michelle was my primary purpose and joy in life. Yesenia's cooking was genuinely delicious, but I couldn't enjoy it and just gulped it down. Michelle ate without fuss, but didn't show her usual delight, quietly eating her food. 40 minutes later, dinner ended, and I was back in the room with Michelle. That's when I got a rare call from my high school friend Ashley. Ashley had moved away after graduation, and though we had met twice since then, it had been 8 years since our last encounter. She called me for a reason, wanting to talk, so we agreed to plan a date. Perfect timing. Maybe Ashley's on my side. The unexpected call lifted my spirits, and I felt ready to endure the next 4 days. After the call, tidying up around 8 p.m., I decided to take a shower with Michelle and headed to the living room. Sean and Yesenia were looking at an album with photos of young Sean and Yesenia. I saw his face and recognized him immediately. "Wow, Sean, so cute. Yesenia, you were beautiful." The words came naturally, but Yesenia's reaction was different, her eyes narrowing. Complimenting old photos doesn't do me any good now. I wanted to say she was still beautiful, but Yesenia's pressure made it hard to speak. Timing is crucial, even when flattering. Trying to change the subject, I held up the clothes I was carrying, indicating that I wanted to take a shower. But what happened next was the worst thing for Michelle and me. "You're not thinking of using our bathroom, are you?" What? I had assumed that since I was staying at my in-laws' house today, I was supposed to take a shower here. But apparently such an obvious act was not allowed for Michelle and me. "Do you realize how out of line it is to dirty our bathroom with your filthy body? Having given birth to some unknown child? What if the child has an accident in the bathroom? It could ruin our entire bathroom. If you're willing to replace everything in it, then maybe you can use it." That was the last straw. There's a limit to how much humiliation I can take. Angry not only for myself, but for Michelle being treated like dirt. I went back to our room, packed our things into a backpack, and left the house. Despite such cruel treatment, Sean didn't try to protect Michelle and me from Yesenia, sticking closely to her instead, proving he's unreliable. Disgusted with Sean and not wanting to stay there any longer, driven by the desire to protect Michelle, I chose a family-friendly hotel. I had never been there before, but I remembered it from a TV show 6 months ago. Struck by the owner's kindness and wanted to stay there someday. It took 40 minutes by taxi with Michelle in my arms. Despite our unexpected visit, the owner greeted us with a smile. "I'm sorry for the sudden intrusion. Could you possibly accommodate me and my 2-year-old daughter for the night?" I looked troubled for a moment. The owner, Mrs. Smith, as it said on her name tag, "I'm really sorry, but we're fully booked today." It was a popular hotel, featured on TV, so I understood it being full, but I desperately wanted to stay, unable to leave. Michelle began to get fussy and started to cry, probably at her limit. Then came the owner's kind offer. "Since you've come all this way, we can make up the staff break room for you." "But that would be an inconvenience to your staff. I'll look for another hotel," I replied. I had nowhere else to go, but I couldn't trouble the owner further. As I was about to leave with Michelle, the owner said something unexpected. "When my daughter was small, I too was stranded and sought help at a hotel. I'll never forget this kindness I received. Please, let me help you." It was fortunate to find empathy and a place to stay at the first hotel I visited. Seeing one of the staff members diligently cleaning the room, I felt grateful for their warm welcome, even though I felt sorry. After taking a shower at the hotel, feeling both physically and mentally refreshed, I contacted Ashley, who I was due to meet, and arranged to meet at a cafe near my house in 5 days. While on the phone, I heard someone calling from outside my room. It was the owner bringing me a late-night snack. I was moved to tears by the warmth and hospitality, incomparable to Yesenia's treatment. "You don't have to get up early tomorrow. Just call internal line 0 when you wake up and I'll bring you breakfast." "Isn't there a checkout time?" I asked. I had only planned to stay for one night, but the owner didn't seem to want us to leave. "From tomorrow we'll prepare a guest room for you. Please stay for about a week and relax. There's a shower available 24 hours and there are magazines and picture books in the lobby. I'm delighted if you and your child stay and enjoy your time here." Indeed, I was reluctant to return to my in-laws' house, so I decided to stay here for a while. During my stay at the hotel, I found it odd that I hadn't heard from Sean or Yesenia, but maybe it was for the best, allowing me to enjoy a break from the ordinary. As the nights passed, I tried to pay for my stay, but the owner insisted I could pay when I was ready to leave. Then, the day before I was supposed to meet Ashley, something unexpected happened that made my eyes widen. Just after returning to the hotel from a walk with Michelle, the door opened loudly and there stood Ashley! Ashley! "Natalie, what are you doing here?" "That's my line!" We both froze in surprise. Then Ashley's words to the owner revealed the truth. "Mom, you know Natalie? She's my friend." "Mom? With so many Smiths around, I never imagined the owner and Ashley were mother and daughter." It turned out that the owner who had helped me was Ashley's mother. Ashley had gone to Tokyo to learn hotel management and take over her mother's place, and had made plans to meet me after her return. When I told Ashley why I was there, her reaction was as bitter as her mother's had been. Later, as Ashley and I were walking inside the hotel, an album full of photos suddenly fell from a bookshelf, making me scream. Wow, that scared me. Imagine if that had fallen on a guest. Yeah, but it's strange it fell without anyone touching it. As we looked through it, we saw smiling faces of past guests, showing how beloved this hotel was. But on the 8th page, I saw a familiar face, and next to him, a woman I didn't know. "That's my husband!" Ashley, shocked, took another look at the photo. "And the woman next to him?" "Someone I don't know." We immediately went to the owner to inquire about the two in the photo, who, as it turned out, had been quite close and affectionate. In other words, Sean was having an affair. Checking the guest registry, it was evident Sean had been bringing a woman, not me, every odd month. They expected him to return this coming November. So we decided to act as if nothing had happened until then. I thought my plans would be disrupted if I kept running away from Sean and Yesenia, so I decided to return to Yesenia's home. Back at my in-laws, neither Yesenia nor Sean asked where I had been, and the cold atmosphere continued. 2 days later, Sean and I returned to our own home. Of course, once home, I was berated with comments like, "Don't bother your mother," and "You're the worst wife." But I just endured, thinking it was only a matter of time. And then, a month later, on a night in November, it happened while Sean was back from work drinking beer. Yesenia suddenly came to our house, and as soon as I opened the door, she began to apologize deeply. "Natalie, I'm sorry." 5 minutes later, Ashley also arrived at our house to join the conversation. Natalie was treated like dirt and even suspected of cheating. Now you understand how she felt. "Sorry, I'm so sorry. Sean, what are you spacing out for? You're the one who cheated. Apologize." But Sean just looked like it had nothing to do with him. Seeing Sean like that, I made up my mind to confront the issue and stood right in front of him, saying bluntly, "The person beside me is the daughter of the owner of the hotel where you stayed with another woman on the 4th Thursday of November." Ashley quickly added as if it was her own issue, "Thank you for staying at our hotel. On that day, we had a special event with a steak cooking service at dinner and a bingo game. I hope you enjoyed it." First, as the next owner, she thanked him, then dropped the bombshell. However, someone who leaves their family at home on Thanksgiving to pretend they're on a business trip and cheat is not welcome at our hotel. As expected, Sean had stayed at the hotel with another woman in November, an odd month, and we recorded the entire thing with photos and a voice recorder. Though it's not usually allowed to keep records of guests' personal information, I had requested it, so the hotel wasn't responsible. Sean, looking intently at his own photo, sighed deeply. Finally, I decided to speak my mind to Yesenia. "I'm sorry for being such a dirty daughter-in-law and grandchild that we can't even use your bath. Remember, your son chose me. I guess that means you think your cheating son is cleaner. Maybe you should get your eyes checked." I spoke sarcastically, and Yesenia hung her head, unable to say anything. Who would have thought it'd come to this? She didn't seem to regret her mistakes, rather looking at me as if I was to blame. But now that her position was weakened, she reluctantly pieced together an apology, though it was too late. "I'm sorry I couldn't protect Natalie and Michelle before. From now on," I knew what Sean was about to say, so I immediately stopped him. "Enough! I have no intention of remaining your wife. For now, you'll pay the compensation and child support in the divorce. If you can't pay, get a lawyer or whatever. I have 2 witnesses here. I'll pay. Please don't make it any harder for me." Even in such a situation, Sean tried to protect himself, and I felt the most pity for Michelle. I decided that when she grows up, I won't talk much about Sean. After that, I left the house and ended up staying at the hotel again, but this time as a live-in employee. "You have a small child, so just answer the phones, okay?" This way I could work next to the room where my child was sleeping. Supported by the kind owner and her daughter, I finally began to feel proud of my existence. Maybe things would have been different if Sean had stood up for me in front of Yesenia. But I can never forgive someone who cheats, no matter what. While reminding myself of this, I looked forward to future love, determined to raise Michelle with care.